Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if this is the first time that you are visiting. This is Keisha with Planning with the Prince Pack, and I am here to plan for the week of my birthday. I'm using this birthday kit from Peaches and Pinks, and for those of you that have been here in the past, there's a couple of you that have commented on what I should do about my school scripts. Well, I decided to edit them myself. And so I actually put in my own scripts, and you can see it's in black ink for different things. So I didn't have to write as much in my planner or write as little as I possibly could. There was only one box this entire week that I had to write something in my planner. Other than that, I was completely prepared. It was awesome. So I'm just doing a regular layout this week, but I actually wanted to do something that I got from Laura Lee Plans, and she got from Vivian from Viv Loves to Plan, and it is assumptions about the place that you live. And I live in Utah. For those of you that don't know, I live in Salt Lake, and we have a lot of assumptions in our own state about our state. So I thought, I'll just do a little bit of research. And I didn't ask anybody to give me some feedback because, I probably would have gotten the same things that I researched for. So it's fine. So the first assumption about Utah is that everyone in Utah is Mormon. And that is false. Yes, our state was settled by the Mormons, and yes, we have a large amount of Mormons here. It's about 60-40, so 60% of the population is Mormon, 40% is not. And of the 60% that is Mormon, there's probably a large amount of those that are inactive, including my family and I. My husband and I were married in the Salt Lake Temple, which is the first temple that was built. It wasn't finished, but it was the first one started by the pioneers in the Salt Lake Valley. And it was beautiful. It looks like a castle and everything. But we since have become inactive for personal reasons. But essentially, it's just we like spending our time as a family on Sundays not going to church. And it's kind of helped with COVID because everything is home church now. So, okay, so everyone is not Mormon in Utah. Number 2, no, not every Mormon is polygamist. Polygamy is against the law, actually. And yes, there are people that are polygamist in Utah that are Mormon. There are also people that are polygamist in Utah that are not Mormon. Polygamy is just plural marriage. And the reason why it's an assumption is because Mormons in our history, back during the time of Joseph Smith, our founder, he essentially approved of polygamy. But the reason why is not because he was like, I want 1 million wives. It's because there were wars going on and he was trying to repopulate the earth, especially within the religion. Now, there are people that have taken that and ran with it. Sorry, I'm kind of out of breath. Like the FLDS. F means fundamentalist. It means that these people that are FLDS are essentially running with the fundamental ideas of what originally started the polygamy concept. So they don't even practice modern Mormonism. So no, not everyone is polygamist. And in fact, if my husband were polygamist and wanted multiple wives, I would leave because that is too much work. Okay, sorry, I'm out of breath. It's pregnancy. Whew. Number 3, fry sauce is our condiment of choice. Yes, that is true. And when we leave Utah and we ask for fry sauce, we usually get weird looks. If you've ever been to Red Robin, fry sauce is their campfire sauce, which is a mixture of ketchup, mayonnaise, and then depending on where you go, depends on for example, Red Robin, they put barbecue sauce in theirs. So you can kind of taste the barbecue sauce. Most places don't put barbecue sauce in them. In-N-Out's fancy sauce that they have, that they put on animal style fries, and you can get in packages. That's fry sauce elevated. It's they put a relish in it. It's really good. It's just not a classic fry sauce. A classic fry sauce is just 50-50 mayo and ketchup. It's very good. I highly recommend it if you don't like it, or if you have never tried it, I should say. It's really good on French fries. That's obviously fry sauce, but it's also good like on burgers, really any potato products. Yeah, I love fry sauce, but there are some places I don't like fry sauce. Like I don't like their version, so I'd rather have their ranch. Like Red Robin, I really like their campfire sauce, but I really would rather put their fries in ranch. The ranch is so good. I love ranch. That's also a big condiment here in Utah. We put our pizza in it too. At least my family does. It's a pretty common thing here. Okay. Number 4, an assumption that we have snow year round. No, we do not have snow year round. We have a desert climate statewide. And so we have a lot of wildfires and stuff during the summer. Our temperatures in the summer get like high 90s into the hundreds, and it's dry. So it's very similar to Arizona. It's just not like you could, there's some days you probably could, but it's not like you could just like cook an egg on the blacktop and you'd be totally good with eating it. It's a little bit more tolerable. What is her name? Laura? Yeah, Laura from Moon Prism Plans. She just recently came up to Utah, and her family lives in a smaller town than Salt Lake, and it's a driving distance according to how she spoke. And she mentioned how it was so nice to get from Vegas to Salt Lake, and our temperatures are very similar, but it's not so dry. Like you walk outside and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm dying. There are some days like that, but we do usually have a little bit of a breeze, not like a San Diego breeze because we don't have an ocean. But yeah, and if you go into our mountains, that's like the perfect weather during the summer. However, we are known for our greatest snow on earth. It's kind of our nickname. Now, would I say that we have the greatest snow on earth? I think that's debatable, especially since there are other states that have fantastic skiing and stuff, like Colorado. But us and Colorado are very similar in our climates, both winter, summer. Fall is my favorite here, though, because our temperature dips down to high 70s and our trees change, and just driving through the canyon is beautiful, like driving to Park City where a lot of the Olympics were held. Oh, amazing. So number 5, everyone skis or snowboards. That is false, but we do have 10 world famous ski and snowboard resorts. A couple of them were used for the Olympics, and a couple of them still have their Olympic, I don't know, like visitor places. Like in Park City, you can go see where they've got like an Olympic museum and stuff, and it's free. It's fantastic. If you've never been there before, if you were looking for something to do and get out, that's free. We have a total of 15 ski resorts here, and my dad is an avid ski and snowboarder. He buys like a season pass every year and is up there as much as he possibly can, because it's really like a 15-minute drive from where I live in the Salt Lake Valley. I live in the east side of the Salt Lake Valley, which is really close to the Wasatch Mountains. The Wasatch Mountains are where most of the ski resorts are located. So, but I personally do not like the snow. I'm okay with it to snow until like January 1st. And then after that, I want it to go back to fall weather. But every year it doesn't. But if I were to choose like a winter sport to watch, I love watching snowboarding. To do, I like sledding. The sledding that I like to do is where you sit on the tube and they take you up the mountain. That's really lazy sledding, but it's fun. There's a place that's near Park City that does that, and it's, oh my gosh, it's the best. But it's not I have to go do this all the time. It's not a season pass kind of thing. So, no, not everyone skis or snowboards. My husband's actually never been skiing or snowboarding before, so, and he's lived in Utah most of his life, since he was like 5, so. Okay, number 6, funeral potatoes are served at every function. So let me give a little background of what funeral potatoes are. They're either shaved or scalloped potatoes, and they're mixed together with like a cream of chicken soup and sour cream, and they're put in a casserole dish. Depending on who you are, depends on what kind of mixings you put in it. Like my grandma, she always puts onions in them. Oh, too many. But they are creamy potato casserole kind of things. They are served as a side, so they're not like a main meal. And they are served at a lot of functions, typically funerals, which is where they get their names. But like if you go to a family function, like my family, we always have funeral potatoes at like Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff like that. They're really easy to cook and really easy to put together. There's a lot of like funeral potato kits on the shelves. So if you're wanting to try them, you know, it's just like scallop potatoes, like creamy scallop potatoes or creamy shredded potatoes, like hash brown style. But then they put in all the mix-ins and then you put it into a casserole dish and bake it. It's really good. I highly recommend it. The next one is also a food item, number 7. We eat a lot of green Jell-O. I don't know where this came from. I'm assuming it's just the Jell-O aspect. Just like funeral potatoes, at every family function, we have a Jell-O salad of some sort, like mixed with whipped cream, and it's really good. Sometimes you mix it with like maraschino cherries or other fruits. Green, I don't know why green Jell-O is the big thing, but yeah, I guess at family functions, just like funeral potatoes. It was actually when the Olympics were here, you could get like collectible pins and charms for like a charm bracelet, and I did collect a lot of them, one of them being green Jell-O. So it's just kind of like our go-to, I guess. The next one is people in Utah don't drink beer or alcohol, again, because of the stigmatism of everyone's Mormon. That's false. Yes, we do have a different alcohol content. So like if companies want to sell their liquor here, our liquor is all controlled by our state, which I think is ridiculous. Don't even get me started on that. But it's all controlled by our state, which means that if we want beer served here, it has to be at a lower alcohol percentage. So oftentimes people like to get their liquor in Mesquite, Nevada, which is just on the border of Utah and Nevada. You have to pass through it to get to Vegas. Idaho is really close. Wendover, which is also in Nevada. It's used to be like a Native American land, but they have like a couple casinos there and they have a liquor store, which is why a lot of times, or a lot of beers, and you might have tried them before, come out of Utah, just so that we don't have to deal with like trying to lower our content, our alcohol content. And so they're like Squatters or Wasatch Brew. You'll probably find them in your own liquor stores. They'll just be a little bit higher of a percentage, but we have a lot of breweries here just to combat that. But and our alcohol, our liquor stores, again, are owned by the state. They're closed on Sundays. They close at 9 p.m. They have very controlled like prices, and I mean, that's a positive of the state running it, because then it's not like a monopoly, but that's also a negative because then they're not open on Sundays and people are like, where can I get a good glass of, tequila here, or a good shot of tequila? Well, you have to go to a restaurant and they can only pour one shot for you. You can only have up to 2 shots sitting in front of you at one time. It's crazy. Look up the liquor laws, but we do drink here. It's just different. You can't buy liquor in the store. It's not like when I lived in Florida, you could buy, wine and hard liquor and everything at like Target. We don't have that. The only thing you can buy at Target that is liquor based is beer. And like, so you're going to get like White Claws and regular beers and things like that, but no hard liquor. Okay. Number 9, Sundance Film Festival cannot be matched. I guess I try to stay away from Sundance Film Festival. I know where they're located and I know people come in like crazy. That's one of the things that they believe that, caused the, increase in COVID cases in Utah. is because we, what was I going to say? Because we had Sundance Film Festival. I'm sorry that I lost my train of thought. But I try to stay away from it. I'm so sorry that I keep losing my train of thought. I'm kind of like lightheaded right now. I think it's because I just took my medication for the baby. But yeah, so it is, it's up in Park City, mostly Deer Valley resorts, which are really close to Park City. Like not so much walking distance, but super close to Main Street, Park City. Main Street, Park City is where most of the stuff happens. That's where a lot of like the famous people hang out during Sundance. And Sundance is like a 2-week film festival. If you didn't know, that it's an indie film festival, and a lot of movies actually get picked up from that film festival to become famous. Like Zac Efron's Ted Bundy movie, Ashton Kutcher years ago did The Butterfly Effect, all of those things. They start, if they're low budget films, they start at the indie film festival like Sundance, and then they move to other places. But I try to stay away because, first of all, it's in the winter, and I don't like going up to Park City during the winter if I can avoid it. But also, I just don't like the crowds. So there are other places that have tried to do film festivals like Sundance, and they just can't match it. So now Sundance has decided to like disperse their film festival, so it's still mainly in Park City, but you can go to different locations throughout Utah and other places. They're trying to like spread the love just so that it kind of helps boost the economy and stuff. Okay. Number 10. This one's kind of funny. The lucky underwear, or that everyone wears lucky underwear. Okay, let me give a little backstory on what lucky underwear is. Lucky underwear comes from the concept of Mormonism, and that people that are LDS wear lucky underwear. They wear underwear that is specific to the religion, yes, and you can look it up. It's just called garments. There's a shirt and shorts, and again, you can look it up. But people call it lucky underwear because it's like a religious thing. I don't know why they call it lucky underwear. But again, back to the whole Mormon thing. Only 60% of Utah is Mormon, and of that 60%, there's probably a lot that are not active or do not wear the quote-unquote lucky underwear. So just kind of context behind that. There's not much that I should or can or will go into deep with the LDS garments, but I would recommend that if you're like even wondering what it is, then Google it. That's just because there's lots of like YouTube videos and stuff about it. There's lots of articles, and if you just Google Utah lucky underwear, then you'll be able to find it. No problem. Number 11, you can float the Great Salt Lake. Yes, that's true. So the Great Salt Lake over the years has actually gotten more shallow. The Great Salt Lake actually used to cover the entire Salt Lake Valley at one point. Like all of this land that people are living on used to be completely covered in Great Salt Lake. But it is super salty. It actually has more salt than the ocean does. It's very dense in salt. It has like 4.9 billion tons of salt in it. And you can still, even if there's no water, you can still see the salt. It's called Bonneville Salt Flats, and if you drive, you can actually drive on it, but if you drive near the Great Salt Lake, you'll be able to see the Bonneville Salt Flats, and it's just like this whole bit of desert land covered in white. No vegetation or anything because salt kills vegetation, and it's just flat. The water itself is really gross. Great Salt Lake is not, it's got brine shrimp in it because not much can live or grow in it. There's a lot of bugs near the Great Salt Lake, but if you really want to get into it, you can. It's gross though. But you can float in it. It's just like the Dead Sea. Because there's so much salt density that you could float it in it if you wanted to. But yeah, Great Salt Lake is, I think my favorite part of the Great Salt Lake is actually one of the old buildings there. It's called Saltaire, and they have a lot of concerts there, but it's an old building that was built back like in the early 1900s. Actually, I think it was built in like 1870, but it was built as like a pier building. So if you've ever been to a pier, like Santa Monica Pier or something, it was built there, and the water actually came up to the pier. So that's how high the water was. And people could come, and you can buy saltwater taffy there, which is delicious. Utah is like, it's one of the things that's known for Utah is saltwater taffy. But if you look at pictures of the or of Saltaire back like in the early 1900s, you can see people floating on like inner tubes at Saltaire in the Great Salt Lake because that's when it was so high. So it's really cool. By the way, for those of you that are wondering on like my plan with me, this is my birthday week. I turned 32 on Friday. 9/11 is my birthday. But I'm really weird about my birthday. Like, I like my birthday because it's in the fall. September is my favorite. And obviously, like, everybody loves birthday attention. But I just wish that I had, like, a time machine so that I could go back to 22 and just, like, live my life 22 years old forever. I don't know. I just don't like getting old. So, okay. Number 12. There is no lottery in Utah. Again, it goes back to kind of like the liquor and beer controlling. The state controls all of our liquor. So in turn, they also say no gambling. And according to them, lottery is gambling. So we do not have a lottery. So whenever there's like a Powerball or something like that, people always drive up to Wyoming, which is really close. It's only like an hour and 20 minutes to get to Wyoming, or like north we can go to Idaho and people will do the Powerball there. If they live in southern Utah, then they'll go down to Wendover and do the same things, or to Mesquite and do the same thing. So yeah, we do not have a lottery here. Do not plan on coming to Utah and getting rich from the lottery. Not going to happen. Okay, number 13. This one I'm actually really proud about. We, as Utah women, were actually the first suffragettes, depending on how you say it. So if you don't know who those women are, they are women that stood for women's rights to vote. We were the first state in the entire United States. Actually, we were before even the suffragettes that were in Europe. We were the first to vote. We voted in 1870, and it was 50 years before the 19th Amendment was actually ratified. It's a big deal, especially recently in Utah, because with 2020 being an election year and 2020 being an even year, like divisible by 10, 1870 was, 70, 180, 90, 2,000, 130 years. Pretty cool. No, 140 years. 150 years. Terrible at math. Can you tell? Anyway, so we were the first suffragettes, and Utah prides itself on that, being the first women that had the ability to vote, which I think is pretty cool. Okay, next one. You can be in the mountains within minutes anywhere you are. So that's number 14. And that is true. Because we are a very mountainous region, really no matter where you are, you can be in the mountains. So like I live in the Salt Lake Valley, but I live about mid-valley area, which means that on the right and left of me, I can see mountains, and I'm about halfway in between each of them. I would prefer to go to the Wasatch Mountains because those are the ones that have like the ski resorts, and the ones that they're really tall mountains that has like all of the more tourism-y things. So like if you drive into the mountains, you can go to Park City and lots of cool restaurants and hotels and things like that. Kind of like what people consider when they think of like Aspen. If I were to go to the West Mountains, They're more like rolling hills. Yes, they're mountains, and if people live in places that are flat like Florida, they'd come here and be like, oh my gosh, look how high those mountains are, and we'd be like, yeah, but did you see the Wasatch? So the mountains that are a little bit more flat, they're known as the Ochre Mountains. They're not as cool, but they're still, part of the valley. But even if you don't live in the Salt Lake Valley, no matter where you go, you can get into the mountains because the more north you go, the more into the mountains you get. And then if you go south, you can actually find like Red Rock Mountains. So that's when like you get the Bryce Canyon and Arches and the Narrows and things like that. They're all pretty close in proximity to humans that live here. So yeah. Again, I prefer the mountains more fall time because that's when the leaves have changed and the weather is a little bit cooler. Our elevation is really high. So for those of you that are not familiar, Denver is considered as like the Mile High city. We're really close in our elevation, especially when you get to Park City, to Denver. That's one of the ways you can get to Denver. But and so when you get to higher elevations, that's when you get closer to the sun, and that's when like you get more sunburn, but you don't realize you're getting sunburn. So we have a lot of lakes in the mountains as well that are like boating lakes, not just like fishing lakes. And so I like going there because it's nice and cool because it's more in the mountains, but then you're more likely to get a nice tan. Obviously, it's not good because that's the closer to the sun you get, and that's more radiation. But, okay. Number 15, Utahns are only conservative. That's false. So this kind of goes back again to the whole Mormon aspect. So yes, there are a lot of conservatives here in Utah, and we are a typically red state when it comes down to voting. However, there are more liberal cities within our state, like, for example, Salt Lake City. That city is mostly blue, so their leaders are mostly, like, liberal or Democrat parties. So, but one of the reasons why we are considered as a more conservative state is because the LDS culture and population kind of prides themselves on being more conservative, being family forward and family first, conservative with their money, those kinds of things. So, but like our pride is huge here. Like last year they had like over 100,000 people show up to Pride. It's a huge thing. So even if people are conservative in Utah, they do and they might vote conservative, they do have like semi-liberal attitudes. I wouldn't say we're like liberal like California. We probably never will be liberal like California, but we do have a lot of progressive ideas, and we're moving towards that with like the conservative aspect of voting too. So it's kind of interesting. Okay. Let's see. Number 16. Everyone lives or visits the national parks frequently. Like lives in, I'm assuming? No. I have lived here almost my entire life. I did live in Florida for a short time to do the Disney College program, but I've lived in Utah most of my life, and I have only been to a few national parks. I've never been to Bryce Canyon. I've never been to Zion's. I've never been to the Arches. My husband and I recently went camping, and we went to Vernal, and then we went to the Dinosaur National Park. So we like have been to national parks, or we've been to state parks, but I've never been to like the ones that are like world renowned that people, come to visit from Europe kind of thing. I should, but again, it's like, it's hot. I don't like hiking. I don't like physical exertion like that. So, and then the last assumption is that Utahns are nice people. And I would say that that's true, because although Southern hospitality is known in the South in the U.S., We are the kind of people that, I don't know, take our shirt off our back kind of people. If you've, so Post Malone, he's a rapper. He has a home here. He's from Texas, so he has a couple homes. He has like one in LA, one in Texas, and then one here. And the one that he has here is in the Wasatch Mountains in a canyon called Little Cottonwood Canyon. And he's always seen like, I don't know, it's kind of like seeing Bigfoot. He's always seen like at 7-Eleven or Olive Garden or Buffalo Wild Wings, different places like that in the valley. And he was recently interviewed by Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan was like, you know, I was really shocked to hear that you lived in Utah. And then I went to go visit the people of Utah. And he's like, I can't believe how nice the Mormons are. And Post Malone's like, everyone's nice. And so although there are mean people and we do have a population of people that are judgmental, for the most part, we are very... Sorry, I was interrupted by Dave, but for the most part, people are very nice people in Utah. I think that a lot of us pride ourselves on being kind to people. I do have to say, though, we are terrible drivers, and we have terrible road rage, and then on top of that, we don't know how to drive, so it's, like, miserable. It's like... a lot of people don't realize that they should be driving in the fast lane if they're going fast and the slow lane if they're going under the speed limit. But usually in Utah, it's the opposite. So if you're coming here to have an experience, don't drive. Just saying. Like, hire an Uber driver to take you to wherever you're going and then just stay close by. So, okay, so that's the end of my assumptions for Utah. And this was really fun. Sorry if my energy level seems low. I just took my medication and it's a little intense. Oh, I wanted to point out, and I did point to it and show you in the video, but the one thing I really like about Peaches and Pink's, kits is that she has self-care and house cleaning checklists already created, which is fantastic. And I use those on the back right there, next to where my medications go. And it's hard to see, but in that top left corner, you can see where where I typed in medications, and then I just put it just above. And then it kind of caused me, because the box was small, to start writing small. It was really weird. I think I'm just about to do a flip through of what the week looks like. So I'm going to just put some music on and I will be right back. Okay, that ended up being like perfect timing. So here is my flip through. I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I did have a new cute little icon that I had to put in every day to remind myself to take my blood on my glucometer, which is what that little icon you see. It's just like fasting, after breakfast, after lunch, after dinner kind of thing. So I hope you liked this video. I hope you liked learning about the Assumptions of Utah. If you did, make sure that you give my video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. And I hope to see you next week. I hope you have a wonderful week. Peace out.